If you only take action when you feel motivated, you might feel stuck forever. I'm gonna help you move through the feeling of being stuck and create discipline. Claim the energy now. This is the year where you get disciplined. Today, I'm going to be breaking down why motivation is unreliable and how to move past it. And you know, I'm always looking out for you. I'm going to give you actionable steps that you can take. Hello friends, welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, my name is Krizia. I'm on a mission to helping you glow up from the inside out. If that sounds like you, then consider subscribing. Okay, so first, I always have to acknowledge where you're at because I know the frustrating feeling. Look, I have been there pretty much my entire life up until recently. Always relied on motivation, and my journey has been like up and down in everything that I did across the board. Working out, never been consistent. Showing up on time, never a day in my life before recently. I was always late to work. I remember showing up to work, sneaking into meetings and getting scolded by my boss. Like, I just lacked all the discipline in all areas of my life. I know what you're feeling and I know it's frustrating, but really it all comes down to just understanding these key things. In order to move forward, we need to understand the motivation trap and why it's holding you back. Because look, we've all been there. We feel inspired. If you watch videos on YouTube, you read a book, you hear someone else's story, you know that feeling where you get so motivated, where you're like, I'm ready. It's time to change. It's time to go work out. It's time to do whatever it is. And then somehow you end up back to square one. That's because motivation is so unreliable. It's an emotion. It's a feeling. It comes and it goes. So that's the one thing I need you to understand first, is that motivation is temporary. It's an emotion that comes and goes. You might feel this surge of energy to start something new, to start a new goal, and I love that. Motivation is great as a fire starter, but in order to keep the fire burning, you're gonna need more than that. And so a lot of people rely on motivation, which is why so many people start projects, businesses, hobbies, a fitness routine, and then they just fall back immediately. Like, think about New Year's resolutions, right? In January, the gym is packed, filled with people. And then by February, it starts to slowly die down, and then, you know, less and less people. That's another example of why motivation is so unreliable. I finally realized that the secret to long-term success in any goal, getting past this cycle, getting past the motivation trap, where you start something new, you're excited, you're motivated, and then it runs out and you fall off the wagon, and then you just try to repeat this, and it just seems like a never-ending cycle. Which leads me to the second point of the motivation trap, which is that it's so unpredictable. You can't necessarily control when you feel motivated. This type of inconsistency makes motivation terrible for building any kind of foundation in any goal. Imagine if a doctor or a surgeon decided to only show up to work or perform a procedure when they're motivated. Like, no. Or imagine if an athlete just only trained right before the start of a game. Of course, that doesn't make any sense. And it's the same thing for everyone else in anything that you do. Successful people don't wait for motivation. You kind of just have to start taking action regardless of how you feel. And that's what it is. It's just showing up regardless of how you feel, regardless of your mood. And I'm speaking from experience now because I finally get it. I had been going to the gym or Pilates pretty much every day, like doing some kind of body movement every day for the past 8 months. And I now feel like I've built this discipline where I know that sometimes I'm not going to feel like I want to go for a walk or I'm going to go to the gym, but I just get myself to show up because I know that it's just a normal phase to have motivation come and go, and that is not the determining factor of whether I do something or not. Instead, it's more of like feeling called to and feeling inspired towards your purpose, towards your mission of that goal, and you find a way to just get yourself to show up, because showing up really is half of the work. And the last point I want to talk about for the motivation trap, it is easily overpowered by resistance, meaning the second things get difficult, motivation goes out the door. I gotta check on my cat. Hold on. It's like the example of cleaning a room. You pull out your entire closet and you're feeling motivated, but then that motivation quickly goes away as soon as you start to feel any kind of resistance, and then you're stuck with this pile of clothes on the ground and you're like, I don't even feel motivated to do this anymore. That is a great example of how quick motivation comes and goes, and that's why it's so unreliable. The second you feel resistance, it's just gonna be gone. The thing is, don't feel guilty and don't shame yourself for this. Your brain is just trying to protect you. Our brains avoid discomfort. And the thing is, motivation itself is just not strong enough to compete with that. Let's wrap this up by saying on this point that motivation comes from external sources. It's okay, don't shame yourself. Moving forward, we just know motivation, she's not reliable. It doesn't come from something outside of you. You have everything you need inside of you. Always remember that. No matter how difficult it feels, you have what it takes. Empower yourself. Tell yourself that you can do this. You are more than capable of doing this. Once you start taking that first step, that is where you get into the action part. With the fitness example, right? The actual first step of starting that journey is getting to the gym, getting in the gym. So that is building momentum. The more that you take that daily action, the more you build better momentum. And I'm telling you from example that every time I showed up to a class, it built stronger momentum. 8 months in, now I can't picture my life without showing up. You might not see the results immediately, but as you build that muscle of discipline, the more you practice it, the better you get. Discipline isn't about working harder, it's about working smarter, and it's staying committed even when you don't feel like it. Let's just simplify it, okay? That's really what it is. You're probably thinking, yeah, it's so much easier said than done, but I know that. The misconception a lot of people have is that discipline is just given to people. Like some people are just built differently, some people just naturally have it. No. It's a skill. It's a skill, and that's a good thing because that means you can learn this skill just like any other skill. Discipline is something you develop over time. The mindset shift here is removing the emotion from the action piece. They're two separate things. So don't eat how you feel. Don't act how you feel. Your feelings can be very misleading and they're very inconsistent. So we do not want to allow our emotions to control us. Instead, we want to be the guiding force and direct our emotions and put them in the right places. So we are the ones taking the action separate from the emotion. And now I talk about this all the time, but it really is going to build self-trust. Picture your life from now, like whatever your goals are, if you just dedicated 6 months to do an action towards that goal every day for 6 months, you will have built a new muscle of discipline that you have never seen before. I promise you. And look, it still sucks to wake up early and go to that workout class. There's no denying that there are so many days I don't want to go. Like I've almost, till this day, almost cancel so many classes when it's raining outside, when I get my period, when I just don't feel like it, when I'm tired, maybe I stayed up the night before. Those are just my brain trying to protect me. Despite all of those things, I told myself that I will show up regardless, right? Of course, be mindful of like safety if you're listen to your body, but I've learned to build discipline by just separating the emotion bit from it. So, okay, you're like, Krizia, this sounds great, but how do we shift from motivation to discipline? I know that's what we're all dying to know. That's what we're gonna get into next. So first, let's start with lower the activation energy. Make your tasks easier to start. Put on your workout clothes. Like I like to prep my workout clothes the night before I go to the gym or the workout class because it removes resistance from me in the morning trying to figure out what to wear. So do things like that to set yourself up for success. Or if you're feeling unproductive and you just can't seem to put your phone down, I'll just throw my phone and open my laptop or open my notebook, and immediately it's like a switch in your brain. Set non-negotiable habits. Treat your habits like brushing your teeth. I also like to use the 2-minute rule. Commit to something for just 2 minutes and watch how much more time you invest into that task if you just tell yourself that I'll just do 2 minutes and that's it, because you know you're not just going to do 2 minutes, but it's removing the resistance of thinking, oh my gosh, this is a daunting task, it's going to take hours, it's going to take all this time. Just try to remove the resistance. This is where the identity shift comes into play. Become the person that you want to be. Define yourself by your habits. And then also something that really helps is track your wins. I love to share my progress updates on my Instagram stories. I'm going to Pilates every week. So celebrate your wins, track your wins. That's gonna also keep you going. I've talked about this book before too, but Atomic Habits is a great book for learning how to build discipline and stack your habits. Basically think of it, how can I attach habits together to make it easier to do 2 things instead of 1, to make it easier for consistency. Okay, the last part of this is that action leads to motivation. It's not the other way around. Motivation doesn't inspire action. Action inspires more motivation. This mindset shift changed my life. It applies to so many things. Something that helps here is to focus on the first step, not the finish line, because it can be really overwhelming to think about fulfilling an entire project, a new task, a new goal, a new fitness journey. Start small. Reframe your challenges and see them as proof of growth. If you're struggling, that means you're growing. That means you're growing the muscle of discipline. You're not failing. It's gonna feel like a struggle. I constantly remind myself why I started something, and this constantly helps me get through it, especially on those rough days. Small, consistent actions lead to a big impact. And you'll like inspire yourself as you're doing this, because the more actions you take, you kind of like reaffirm that self-trust that I can do this. And then the next time you take an even bigger action, and the next time you don't feel like showing up, you just push through it even better. Okay, of course, there's so much to deep dive into this. I don't want to overwhelm you. Let me know if you have any questions at all. I'm always happy to help in any way possible. Comment down below. All I do is win, so that I know you made it to the end of this video. And until next time, bye. If you like this video, you might like this video here. So make sure to check that out next, and I'll see you in the next one.